revisit some preseason predictions, hand out a grade for them, and tell you what they absolutely need the most. We're going to start with the AFC North here. Respect to the Super Bowl representative from the AFC. Fees, talk to me about Cincinnati. Tell me what you think about them for the postseason.
Well, man, just getting into what we started off with. When we came into the preseason, we did a video on them, expectations versus reality. I had the Cincinnati Bengals at 7-10. They finished at 10-7. I had them completely flip-flop. Was definitely, no one saw Joe Burrow coming like this. Did not think Ja'Marr Chase would take the league by storm the way he did.
Yeah.
To me, my prediction I felt like was sound. Clearly, it was not. But it is what it is. Hey, Adams was even worse.
Yeah.
He went 5-12.
Yep.
So, we basically both whiffed on the division.
Yep.
We had Cleveland and Baltimore flip-flopped as 1-2 in the division. I had Cleveland at 12-5 in first, Baltimore 9-8 in second, Pittsburgh 8-9 in third, which that was probably the closest one I had. Well, between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And then Cincy at 7-10. What we actually got, Cincinnati at 10-7 won the entire division. Nobody got over 10 games.
Yep.
Pittsburgh went 9-7-1. Outside of they beat Buffalo, that was the one game that flip-flopped the actual prediction because we both went 8-9. If Buffalo had beat them like everyone thought they would have, then they would have gone 8-9. Because, we're not counting that Detroit game. That's ridiculous. You tied the Lions.
Yep.
Get out of here.
Right.
Then we got Baltimore with the Lamar Jackson injury, and they lost 6 straight games at the end of the season. Couldn't have predicted that.
Right.
So they ended up at 8-9, and we predicted them at 9-8. I had them at 9-8. You had them at 12-5.
Yep.
So you were definitely predicting a healthy Lamar Jackson. Even with a healthy Lamar Jackson, I only gave them one more game than what they actually won.
Yep.
Because I think teams have actually started to figure out what they're doing. As a whole, this division is completely flipped inside out. It turned all the way around from what it was a year ago.
Yep. Highly agree, bro. What is your grade for Cincinnati after the postseason?
For the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm going to give them an A-. I would give them an A+, but, you look at them, they went from 4-11-1 to 10-7, and they were one play away from winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If Aaron Donald does not get a hold of Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals win that Super Bowl.
That is a big ask, though, but I know what you mean.
That is also a part of why they got the A- and not the A+, because the offensive line had no pulse. They were that good without an offensive line, and that's the only reason they didn't get an A+, because they didn't address it at all, and it was even worse than what we thought.
Yep.
Burrow and Chase have put the entire league on notice. They are no longer a sleeper. They are a contender, and they're going to be expected to continue to produce at that level.
Right. Now, of course, offensive line is a major, major need for Cincinnati. But next to that, if you have one, what would you say your biggest need is for this team overall?
Next to that, they don't really have one next to it. It's just straight up offensive line. They gave up 51 sacks, led the league. They should scrap the whole line. Just go for all new offensive linemen. Just like I told y'all last week, in free agency and in the draft, just line.
Yeah.
If you want to add the offensive line, get another tight end that helps to block, Gronk. Or, you might want to actually employ an offense that involves a fullback.
Right.
You need to do something to protect that man.
Right. Totally agree. There's no doubt about that. Yep, Fee said it perfectly. So starting with the little preseason look I had here on Cincinnati, I specifically said that Joe Burrow, of course, needed to be protected at all costs, which he definitely needed to. Having the third worst offensive line in the NFL, or hell, you said the most sacks given up, so that's even crazier. I also thought that he needed to have a pretty good season as well, but I also said that it's not like he's going to be fighting for any awards. I specifically even mentioned the Comeback Player of the Year award, which he did win. I thought Dak Prescott was going to have a takeaway win for that, but clearly Joe Burrow was the better, more consistent quarterback over the entire season. And I also said that Ja'Marr Chase would need to be worth that pick that he was. And I said that they were going to go 5-12, be last in the division. Ja'Marr Chase clearly put the league on notice. Joe Burrow clearly won Comeback Player of the Year and probably wasn't far from being in some of those close MVP votings as well. And obviously Cincinnati just had a hell of a season as they walked in, going to the Super Bowl, winning the AFC and taking everybody by surprise. Now, I did have an A- here for Cincinnati. Cincinnati as well. I do highly agree with Fees. It would have been at least an A or an A. Well, of course, it would have been an A+ had they won the Super Bowl. Your head coach is walking in with, 6 wins on his record. He was definitely on my hot seat. I even said it in that video. Zach Taylor was on my hot seat. There were so many question marks for the Cincinnati team. And I said, look, this team has so much left to go. I don't know if it's going to be within the next potentially 2 to 5 years or 2 to 4 years to where this team actually makes a run. But, hey, they proved me wrong, ran to the Super Bowl, and Cincinnati played a very good game, I would say, overall. Now, of course, offensive line definitely needs to be addressed. Fees definitely went through that there enough. I mentioned Penei Sewell getting drafted. I thought that they should have taken him. And, of course, they brought in a unit for him as well. But he clearly could have been protected more. I mean, over 50 sacks in the league. Plenty of quarterbacks hits, pressures, hurries, whatever the case may have been. Joe Burrow was harassed all year, especially in the postseason. I understand after the, the Tennessee game, I think 1 sack overall over the next 2 games, but then the Super Bowl came around. We knew it was going to be essentially unguardable for that Rams defensive line. So the Cincinnati Bengals fell short there. But I will say, I think they need to get a number 2, a solid number 2 option behind Joe Mixon. I respect Samaje Perine, no doubt about that. But outside of, I want to say, his first year in the league with Washington, like 605 yards, less than 300 yards last year for the for Samaje Perine as the number 2, backup to Joe Mixon. Now, whether that was injuries or not, I totally understand this, the subject there, but you still have to make that more of an aggressive move because we don't want to see another Matthew Stafford, potentially Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, to where they are so reliant on the quarterback, obviously, within the team. Like, you're just now building this culture. Don't wear Joe Burrow out. He's already went through a major injury. He's already also still dealing with a horrible O-line. Build up the O-line. Definitely get him a number 2 running back in there.